is that just the ego being like, hey, we want to be powerful? Because when we think about our purpose here, I don't think it's ever to be powerful. I don't know if it's to have influence even.
Well, welcome everyone to today's episode of TMI Advice You Didn't Want. Today we're going to dive into powerful people. Why do we want to be powerful people? What is so impressive about being that powerful person? And first of all, what does that mean?
Mhm.
So today I know Ashley is feeling a little bit under the weather. So we may end up doing this as a two-parter depending on how she ends up feeling. But we'll see how it goes. So friends, in case we haven't met, my name is Karen.
And my name is Ashley.
Yeah, so we're just going to dive right in and talk about powerful people, right? So honestly, one of the biggest things that I see when talking about this topic of powerful people is so many of us have this desire. I feel like it's like this innate desire to feel important, right? This desire to either leave a legacy in this world or to have some sort of what's the word? Some sort of leverage over either other people, other things, circumstances. I do think a lot of this comes down to the desire to control, right? Like the desire to be in control. And it's interesting as I continue through. Many of you may know if you've been listening, but I am currently in the process of becoming an a Dr. Joe NCS certified consultant. And one of the things that I'm really diving into right now is just realizing that there we are programmed, right? Like there's so much of us that is programmed from childhood, from culture, from people around us, right? And so I do believe that a lot of this desire to control is a programming that we have innately in us. And one of the biggest things for wanting to control and be in charge of something is because if I can control, then I can predict the future. I can actually know what's going to happen next, and I don't have to be blindsided. So one of the things that's innately built into each and every one of us is a desire to preserve ourselves, right? And I think that this desire to control comes from that as well, right? So, wanting to be powerful, wanting to be in charge of other things, other people, I think that this is a huge, huge desire. So, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, Ashley, because I know you brought up this topic, but I'm curious, like, where did you want to go with this one?
Yeah, no, it's interesting because like obviously people start wars and strive to be the top of their company and it's always like that's what we're taught. Like you want to be the best of the best. And um so for me, when I like watch different shows where people appear to be powerful, like movies or TV shows, I'm like, "Oh, I want to feel like that and I want that." And it's like where is that coming from? Like what is that desire? Is that an ego-based desire? Or like why do I have that urge to feel powerful when I watch those kind of shows? So that's more so what I wanted to dive into is like, is it all from a place of ego and a place of like a desire to be controlling, or not even necessarily controlling, but I think a lot of control and when people control things around them, it's their desire to feel control in their own life.
Yeah, and I wonder too, so you brought up, is it because they want to control? And I think I was kind of like talking about this a little bit too, because some of it I do think has to do with a desire to create some sort of legacy too, right? And I don't feel like that's necessarily coming from a place of control or necessarily ego, but a lot of times when somebody is looking to create a legacy, they want to help other people in like future generations, right? I know like That's a big reason that people will write books, because they want their knowledge that they've learned through the years to be written down so that other generations can come back and read it, right? So, I mean, this is one of the biggest reasons that I think that right now in history we have more knowledge than we have ever had before. We have the internet at our hands. We have so many books, like we have so much information at our hands, right? And so that those legacies from all those other people that came before and shared their knowledge, shared their information, it's just helping to further that understanding of what we currently know about this dimension, about this universe. Well, not this universe, but about this particular dimension in the universe, right? So I do think that, yeah, like I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to want to be powerful, to want to create something amazing, right? To actually go out there and do something that is powerful. And you talked about watching movies and being inspired by them. I think, like, to me, that's the biggest reason that you watch a movie, right? That's one of the biggest reasons that you watch something, because you're looking to feel something. Okay. And okay, so this actually ties in so perfectly with what I'm literally doing my training on right now with the Dr. Joe stuff. So one of the things that is a part of the training is there's a video of this girl that, and many people probably have seen this before because this went super viral. She's in college and she's running a sprint. And on the last lap of the sprint, she falls, right? She was ahead and she falls. And now she's like behind everybody, and it's far behind everybody. But somehow she finds it in herself to, like, she beats everyone. She's first place in that. She's so far behind, but she's like, I'm the underdog, but what do I have to lose? And she just goes for it. She runs and she ends up winning. That right there, I think, like, the thing about an experience like that is we all love an underdog. We all love an underdog because we look at ourselves as an underdog. And a lot of times when we're watching TV or we're watching inspirational things like that, we are invoking inside of ourselves this feeling of, okay, I can do it. Even though I'm the underdog and I've struggled in life. We've all struggled. I don't care who you are. We have all struggled in life. I don't know, like, I've heard people be like, oh, my life's not that bad. And I'm like, yeah, but you've had some sort of something that you've had to overcome. Whether it's big, small, doesn't matter. We've all had something to overcome in our lives, right? So we all understand what it means to be an underdog. So when we're watching things like that are inspiring us to do something more, that's when, like, that's when we wake up. I think that's when our soul wakes up too. And we go, oh, I want to do that. Right. And the movie industry, they know how to get us. So one of the things that I'm currently doing within the NCS training is the whole concept of you can change your experience by thought alone. Okay. So one of the, I'll just give this example. I can't go too deep into what I'll be training for NCS yet, but to be continued. But basically, one of the things that they want you to do, and that I will be training when I become an NCS trainer, is before you watch that video of the girl that does that lap and she beats everybody, she falls and then beats everybody. What they want you to do is, before you watch that, write down on a piece of paper, how are you currently feeling right now? And, like, you just, okay, I'm feeling neutral. I'm feeling happy. I'm feeling whatever, right? What's the word that you're feeling right now? And then watch that video. Now, how do you feel? And the reason that you feel something like inspired, powerful, empowered, like, the reason you feel that is because you created that experience in your mind. You created that experience in your mind. And the whole concept is that you can change by thought alone. We have been given a powerful brain that has something that no other animal, plant, anything in this current dimension has, and it's a neocortex basically. And our neocortex of our brain actually knows, like, we are aware of our past, present, future kind of concept, and we're able to do a lot of things because we have that neocortex. Basically, we can basically create because of it, because we can imagine how we want to think, act, and feel in a certain situation, and then we can create with that, right? No other real plant or animal does that, right? They don't have a neocortex. They don't have the ability to manifest in that same way, right? So, the thing is, when you're like watching TV or whatever, and you feel that inspirational feeling, remember how that feels. Because there's going to be times where you get knocked down and now you're the underdog. And now you have to remind yourself, how did it feel when I was watching that girl run the race? She fell and then she got up and she won. How did I feel? That's the feeling of the future that you want to create, right? That is the feeling. Not all
Mhm.
the other things that can tend to override during the day, right? Like a lot of times in my day, the things that will override are, I'm tired. I don't want to do this. I'm going to procrastinate. My body doesn't feel good. My whatever, all the thoughts that we could be having, right? That aren't necessarily bad, but those thoughts are still creating something, right? They're still creating our reality by the thoughts that we think. So when we watch TV and we feel that like powerful, empowered, inspired, that's the feeling that wakes us up and makes us go, wait a minute, that's what I actually want in my life, right? So, long story short, no, I don't feel like watching TV and wanting to feel powerful is necessarily a bad thing. That can be an elevated emotion. What do you want to do with it, right? Like that's kind of what I think about it. What is your purpose for it? What makes you want to do that? Is it just so that you feel good, or is it to create something really truly special for other people around you? So those are my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I feel like for me, usually when I have that thought pattern of, oh, like I want to feel powerful, I want to go down that route, it usually is in a different way than what I'm experiencing at the moment. It usually takes me away from my path that I'm on. Um, and I don't know, that's where I kind of was juggling with it was, is that just like another option I have, or is that me stepping into my masculine or my ego? And that's why it wants to take me that way. Because right now I'm a lot more in my feminine and a very different stage of my life. And so that's where I'm like kind of interested about that is um just kind of wrestling with the idea of, is that just the ego being like, hey, we want to be powerful? Because when we think about our purpose here, I don't think it's ever to be powerful. I don't know if it's to have influence even, a lot of people think about it as like, oh, I want to make an impact on the world, but is that really our purpose? And like as a collective, like each one of us has an individual purpose of lessons we're here to learn. But I feel like if we took away the whole power struggle aspect, um, we would be in a lot better of a world. So that's where I feel like it's possibly a lot more ego driven. And when I watch it, I think to myself, like, oh, I could do that, but I'm not doing that. Why am I not doing that? I should do that?
Mm,
And none of that language is really healthy language.
not at all.
And so that's where I'm kind of like curious about it. Like, um, is there ever a reason to work towards a place of power that's effective? And I don't think that there is. um we can naturally become in a place of power, but a lot of people that have had a lot of influence on the world, they're in the background. And so I don't know if powerful um is ever effective for just for that sole reason.
I think I think for me, it's just a different word because I use the word legacy and you use the word powerful. And so I can see exactly where you're going with that. Like, because when I think of legacy, I truly think of helping people. And it comes from a very powerful place, right? So for me, that's how I see it. But I see exactly what you're saying because the whole concept of being powerful makes you think that you're in charge and other people are now, or situations are now like bending to your whim, right? So I do think that words don't always fill the gap of what we mean either. So,
Hmm.
because I do think like, I think the opposite, personally, I think the opposite of what you're saying is legacy, right? And legacy doesn't necessarily have to mean that I am over other people or over other situations or trying to control. It's just meaning that I'm sharing my body of knowledge with others so that they can have a leg up for the future. So
Hmm.
I think for me, I think that's the big difference.
Yeah. And so like the whole like when you look at it from a powerful point of view, like there's a lot of powerful people
Mm-hmm.
that say they're doing what they're doing to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ego gets in the way and the power takes over, the money takes over, the feeling of controlling, and then it becomes cult-like or whatever, or even like with the whole P. Diddy stuff that we talked about on a previous podcast. There's a lot of people having a finger pointed at them saying, like, oh, you're helping in these ways only to hurt. So, for example, like Ashton Kutcher, no idea if this is true or not, but he is involved in I think it's children human trafficking, like specifically for children, but it might just be a general human trafficking
Mm-hmm.
nonprofit, and he used to run it.
Okay. Oh, it's for a
Recently.
nonprofit. Oh, okay. I was like, he's doing that. Oh my God.
It's a nonprofit to help kids,
Got it. Okay.
that and try to get kids out of it. And sorry. So, and he used to be one of the people that ran it and was involved with it, and now he has stepped back. And people are saying he stepped back because of the stuff that's starting to come out with SB and P. Diddy and all that kind of stuff. And that he had a lot of ties to P. Diddy, and he actually talked about going to his parties. And so people are saying completely like allegations because like there's no real evidence towards it other than he has said he's gone to a P. Diddy party, that his connection and the reason he was involved in this nonprofit was actually to get people to the P. Diddy parties. Like it was a way, and a lot of the victims that are coming out, that were children in this situation and have gone public on social media, they talk about how child protective services were involved, and like the upper ups were involved and they knew what was going on, and they were the ones funneling them in to the situation. And so that's where you have like priests that do awful things, and like often people in power end up being really really fucking corrupt. And so when we're striving for power, that's where to me I'm like I feel like it's just ego 100%. Like I don't feel like there's a benefit to it, unless you feel called to be like a president for some reason other than the power of it. And then same idea with legacy. Why do we need to leave a legacy? You know, like um we're here to be present. We're here to learn and grow as individuals. And in that process, we'll probably touch other people's lives along the way. But why do we need to leave a legacy? Is that not just ego as well? Like, and I have this, like, I know my dad created a desire in me to be successful. I know because of his success, I got things in life that a normal person wouldn't. I have name dropped my dad's name to get things. And I honestly want that for my kids. I want them to be able to feel proud of who they are and who their parents are and who their family is and all that. But and I want to leave a legacy, but is all of that just a distraction from our like just living present and going through our own life and our own goals? You know, is that more ego driven?
I personally think that it just depends on where you're coming from. Like, I truly think that you can create something, and as you're creating something, even if you do have a lot of people following you or people that want to know you or whatever, that you can keep your ego intact and just go, it's not about me, it's about them. I've seen that happen before. I mean, you look at people like Mother Teresa or Gandhi, and it's like, I don't think they were doing it necessarily for the fame, for the, hey, look at me, right? I think they truly were looking to do it as a, I want to help and support other people in this life. So it always comes down to, are you keeping your ego in check? And I even look at Dr. Joe, like, I appreciate that man more than he'll ever know, truly, because I watch him constantly. Anytime I have any kind of mentor, I'm watching you. I want to know like what you're doing in the recesses of your time even. And so anything, even if you're standing to the side doing nothing, I want to know, are you present? Are you paying attention? Are you here with me? Are you whatever you're doing, right? And one of the things that I like about Dr. Joe is he'll talk about this all the time whenever you go to any of his events, where he will say one of the biggest things that he has to pay attention to is his ego. Am I doing this because I want to help other people, or am I doing this for me? What am I doing this for? And he talks about keeping that in check constantly and really paying attention to it. So I appreciate that he talks about that, because one of the things he even talks about whenever he was raising all three of his kids is he would talk to them about, and I feel like he does this with people that follow him as well, because I've kind of seen the parallels, right? But whenever he was raising his kids, he would always, at the end of the night, he would go and he would chat with them, and he would talk about things that he was struggling with on purpose, because he wanted them to know that he was struggling and and that he was aware and he was paying attention to it, right? I truly believe that he still does that on all of his things that he talks on, right? Whether it's at an event or you're talking to him, whatever. Like, I've been on enough Zoom calls with him too that you see just how he is, just how you can tell that he really wants to be present. I was on a Zoom call with me and a bunch of other healthcare workers, and he had to pause. He had to pause the Zoom. Somebody was asking him a question. He was like, "I'm so sorry. I'm really distracted right now because there are people outside my window that are landscaping, and it is so loud that I cannot be present. So give me a minute." He literally grabbed his phone so that he could text whoever he needed to text to help him in that moment. And he was like, "I'm so sorry, but I just wanted to give you my undivided attention," basically. And so I appreciate watching people like that, because that right there is the legacy. You're teaching other people how to do the thing, right? By literally doing it yourself. That's the legacy. You're teaching other people how to be present. You're teaching other people how to engage with others. I don't know, like so many things. That's the legacy to me. And I said this to you yesterday, Ashley. One of the things that I've really been looking for, and it's not easy to find. Let me just say that right now. I'm looking for people that I can surround myself with that have tuned into that frequency of abundance. They know what abundance feels like. They are in it, and also have tuned into the frequency of calm, cool, collected. Most people that I have encountered that have tuned into the frequency of abundance have not figured out the calm, cool, collected. They are overwhelmed, they're stressed, they have too much on their plate, they don't know what to do, but they're super abundant, right? I don't want that. I'm not interested in that. For me, I want to find more people, and I know they exist. I've seen them at Dr. Joe events because that's really the place where I look at people and I'm like, yeah, they know what they're doing, kind of thing. Like they got it going on. They have the mega abundance, and they're not stressed out constantly. Or if something does come that stresses them, they go, okay, how long do I want to feel stressed? Because remember, we all have a neocortex. We can at any moment say, I don't really want to think, act, and feel like this. How do I want to think, act, and feel? I want to feel inspired. I want to feel awe. I want to feel whatever, empowered, right? And we can choose. We can choose to feel that way or not feel that way, right? So I just like, I personally, I don't know how I got on this tangent, but it related somehow. But I just want to surround myself with people that are in a frequency that I want, right? Because that I watch people. I'm an observer. I like that's probably one of the biggest reasons I like figuring out social media because I like to observe and watch and be like, "Oh, that worked. Okay, I'm going to try that too and see how that works for me, right?" I do that like whenever I was trying to figure out, I remember I was in, I think it was middle school. And I remember thinking, man, my dad, he's a funny guy. Why is he a funny guy? And so I'd watch him, like I would watch how he would interact with people. And I was like, he's funny. I want to be funny. And so I started watching him, but then you start watching like TV, you watch other people around you that are funny, and you go, how come they were funny? What did they do? How did they present themselves? And so I started really like, okay, let me mimic that a little bit. Is that funny whenever I do that? And then you start to realize, wait, it's because you feel confident about being funny. Even if you're not funny, you're confident about it, right? Like, and you don't care because you're laughing. And so for me, that's what finally made me go, oh, that's what makes them funny, is because they're really feeling it. Because I could say something super deadpan that actually is funny, but nobody laugh because I'm uncomfortable in the situation. And I've watched myself do this before, right? So if I'm uncomfortable, it's not going to hit the same way as if I am comfortable in a situation, right? So God, how did I get so far off on in the bunny hole? But anyways, the point is that when we're asking ourselves, do I want to feel powerful? Do I want to create a legacy? What does that actually mean? What does that actually feel like? I think for me, that is what is the distinguisher, because the feeling you can't deny. You can't deny if you're thinking, I want to be powerful. You can't deny that it feels like you're in charge. You're the one that's over people. You're the one that's calling the shots. You're the thing. Or you can't deny the feeling of, ooh, it felt so good when that person looked at me and they just understood what it meant to be present because I showed them how to be present. You can't deny that that feels good. And to me, I think that is about helping the collective. I truly think that when you model or when you're able to teach somebody with how you say something or how you do something, that feels really good. And that doesn't have to be a feel really good just to make me feel good, but it's a feel really good because you know that they now are going to feel good, right? So I do think that it can be this, like, what is the motivator, right? Because at the end of the day, we're all motivated by something. There's always something that motivates us. And so for me, I know my motivation is like whenever I help somebody like get something, that feels good because it's like, what are they going to do with that now? What can they do with that now? And it's not necessarily about me. It doesn't have to be about me, right? It's about what I just gave to them. How is that going to help further their life, right? So that for me is truly what this conversation is about, right? Like, does that make me feel powerful? Maybe that word's just not the right word, right? Because for me, when I hear that word, I'm like, that powerful is just like, it doesn't have to be a limited experience. It doesn't have to be that I'm lording over somebody, but it
Hmm.
can be, wow, I feel powerful because I just helped somebody feel empowered in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how I see it. That's how I look at it. Just because I know the intention that I have behind it, if that makes sense. What is the intention? What is the, because you can't deny that. Like, I don't, you can't BS yourself at the end of the day. You can to a certain extent, but then once you get really down to the core, it's like, but why are you doing this? You know, and
Yeah.
you know, even if you're not saying it, you know, in your core. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely.
So, but I think this was a good conversation. So, I'm
Mhm.
sorry, Ashley, you're not feeling good, but I think you
Mhm.
still got some good things in. So, friends, if you're listening, go ahead and if you're listening on YouTube, go ahead and give us a like and subscribe and leave us a comment. Let us know what you think about this whole topic of powerful people and what does that actually mean? And is it about legacy? Is it about power? And then if you're listening on your favorite podcast host, go ahead, give us a 5-star, and once again, leave us a comment as well. But today we are going to call TMI Advice You Didn't Want a wrap for today. See everyone next time. Thanks so much for watching. Click on one of the videos below to continue hanging out with us, and don't forget to subscribe.